How's it going, everyone? Welcome back. The Bengals have a lot of questions on their plate entering this offseason. When you make the AFC Championship game 2 straight seasons, you make the Super Bowl once, you dang near take down Patrick Mahomes for a 4th straight time, you're going to have some dogs on this football team, and you're going to have some talented players that want to make some money. And you're going to have to pick and choose very carefully which ones you keep and which ones you let go. And T. Higgins and Jamar Chase are maybe not this year, or possibly, that's what we hear T. Higgins trade rumors, maybe not this year, but it will be full and center next year and the year after that, should they try to keep Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And it's important that they look at this now, entering the draft, looking at free agency, entering potential trades. They look at this a year in advance to be prepared for what's to come. I think Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are going to get, again, I believe, personal thought here, you look at guys like Tyreek Hill's $30 million, it's Devontae Adams like 28 or so. A year or two from now, again, that value is just going to keep going up for wide receivers. You're talking two of the best receivers in the league. I think they're going to together garner $60+ million in average annual salary. You throw $60 million at him, we'll lowball Joe Burrow. Yeah, we said lowball. We'll lowball Joe Burrow and say $50 million at Joe. That's 3 positions, $110 million. You got to have some offensive line firepower. You're going to throw another 30 million minimum. That's like base salary. But regardless, you look at that from that point in time, that's close to half the Bengals salary just in 3 players. We're not talking defense. We're not talking offensive line. Areas that you want to bolster up to maintain a championship caliber team. It's a lot of money for one position, I think. I mean, really, when you think about it in hindsight, you're putting more money towards the wide receiver position than you are the quarterback position, which I don't think I'd agree with that when you think about it. It's a 2-player position, an important position, but it's a position where Joe Burrow is going to eat no matter who's playing wide receiver. I don't even want to say if. I think he's a good enough guy where you don't even need to give him like a legitimate top 5 wide receiver in the league. Like I like thinking of this guy as like a Tom Brady, a Peyton Manning. Throw him a Pierre Garçon or a Julian Edelman. A couple guys like that are good number ones and give him a good crew around him. He's going to make things work if you give him time to throw the football. That's the thing, you don't have time to throw the football right now. So these weapons are a little bit more important because they need to get open quicker. But you give this guy a legitimate number 1 like Jamar Chase for 10 years and then build solid players around him. He doesn't need 2 number 1s. This guy's dang near MVP candidate 2 straight years. He doesn't need that. The best of the best don't need that. That's why Patrick Mahomes in his Super Bowl this year with Travis Kelce and company. Again, that's why we've seen Brady do it year in and year out. You give this guy one legitimate number 1, and it's tough because you want to see both of these guys stay around. And in my mind, it's like, man, but think about offensive line with some protection and these 2 weapons. You won't ever stop this Bengals offense, just like they didn't this year with the protection. But we've seen it time and time again this season. The reason the Bengals were on this winning streak, the reason they were in the AFC Championship game, the reason they were still in the AFC Championship game after a lackluster start or offensive performance during this game is the defense. The defense came in time and time again and made big stops, crucial stops when it needed to, when the moment was the brightest. And we're not going to talk about that play because, I mean, half the defense was held. The other time it was blocked in the back. We're only going to talk about the Bengals penalty because it was like 8 that could have been called from the Chiefs. But, we got to pick and choose sometimes, our battles. Nonetheless, it's important that you have key players on the defense side of the football, too. So it's like, you don't want to wrap too much in an offense. You don't want to become what I think of, you don't want to become a New Orleans Saints, where you got this offense that's putting up 35, 40 points a game, and they're still struggling to finish 500. Like the Drew Brees days. 35, 40 might be an exaggeration, but that was a thing. You remember playing the Saints back in the days, like, their defense was terrible. The one year they won a championship, they had a good defense. They didn't really retain those guys. They let everybody go, and it's like their defense fell apart. And they couldn't win games because you can't, as good as, Drew Brees was, it's like he can't play defense too. And I think that's important for the Bengals to remember. You don't want to it's an offensive league, but you still need that bend but don't break defense. And you still need to have a bolstered up defense that keeps you and makes the big stops when you need to. Or did what they did against the Chiefs and forced field goals, kept your team in football games, because that's the kind of defense that wins championships. You don't necessarily need this big, expensive, flashy one, but you need the money to build a core of players that is still a solid, group where you're just not like, oh, we're just throwing money at guys to try to fill a position. So I do think it's tough, but I think that's going to be what happens with the Bengals. I think they move on from T. Higgins. You would think. We'll see. Then and maybe that's why we're hearing a lot about the trade talks. It's crazy. At first, when I seen the trade talks, it's like it's not gonna happen. It's not. No, and then you think like, oh wait, $60 million a year for 2 players. Maybe they open the door to that and think about it, but we'll see. I don't think the Bengals can retain both, though. We'll see what happens. Let me know you guys' thoughts. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.